Hello everybody and welcome to part 3 of our character effect tutorial. Today we are building this effect. So we're following this tutorial. Today we're building the beam half of it, where the beam kind of hits the character and kind of forms that effect. If you haven't seen the first two, you probably might be a little bit confused. So I recommend go watching those, and those are linked in the description. And I will see you then. So, in other news, let's get started and start building this big giant beam that comes down, hits our character, and creates these nice interactions. So I'm going to turn off everything I don't need, which in this case is like everything. So we don't need to visualize this right now. And I'm going to turn on my interaction details so I can actually see how my beam lines up with my character. As you can see, we have two nodes. These are render nodes and these are geo nodes. So in this geo node, I've created the magic beam. So what you're going to need to do to start is drop down an object merge. We're going to bring in our sim that we made in a different tutorial. So we're going to bring in this sim, where this sim is crashing down, and you can find him right up there in guided sim 2 that we created. And then you're going to drop down a convert node. You're going to make sure he's converted to polygons. And then you're going to blast away what you don't need. So we're going to select a piece from him, and the piece we're selecting is his ribcage piece right here. We're also going to be dropping down a time shift, so we're shifting this to frame 1. So I'll just revert this to default so you can see how I freeze hold this on frame 1. If you go to right click, delete channels, you can hold that in one spot like this. Then we're going to extract a centroid from this piece, so as you can see, it creates a center point for that object. Then we'll come back to this later. The other thing you want to create is a sphere. So you're wanting to take a sphere. I'm just going to also ghost our character so we can see where he is in relation to the sphere the entire time. So for this sphere, I've scaled him down to 0.5. And then I've gone and I've transformed the sphere. So if we zoom out, we can see that the sphere is up a little bit slightly, so we'll change this to 0.5. So he's up there. And then we've given him a distance of 12 meters away from Craig. And then what we're going to do is want to extract a centroid from this geometry. So as you can see, creating a center point. We're going to want to merge these 2 points together. And essentially what we're going to be doing now is creating a line between these 2 points. And you can see that I've kind of translated this point over here from the shoulder where it's transformed. Basically, by the end of the day, when I created my line, I wanted it not to hit his stomach anymore, but I wanted to hit his shoulder blade. So I've kind of rotated the point where I wanted it. Then I've added an add node. I've done add polygon by group, and that's created a line between these 2 points. Then I've done resample. So if we turn on our points visualizer, we can see that I've resampled these points. And we've done length 73. Then I have added a point jitter. And what this point jitter does is it jitters our points in 3D space. Then I want to resample this line, so I've done length 0.27. And then I've added a smooth. So this is going to smooth our line and create like a big wavy shape, like this. And then I want to go back up to my resample, scroll down, and go to curve view. So create curve view. Go to your polywire. So we put down a polywire, and we've done wire radius 0.51 times at curve view. And then played with the division sampling. So now we have this big wavy line kind of hitting our character. Now we're going to want to create some groups. So I've created a start group. In this group are points, start, and a base group. So I've selected the points on the end of my object. So I've gone here and selected them and then clicked enter and labeled it start. Then at the end, I've created end groups where I've gone to the end of this right here and do name and base group right there. Then I've made sure this is time shifted in place so we can have points going like that. Then we can do find shortest path. And shortest path needs your start group and your end group, and then output from start to each end. And you should get lines like this. You're then wanting to smooth out those lines just a little bit more, like this. And you're going to want to drop down a carve node. So this carve node is going to get the lines to hit the character like this. So I've animated these. So for frame 1, we have these both at 0. Frame 8, 1. Frame 15, frame 17, and frame 18. So by the frame 18, this effect is over. Then I have added a null called outlines right here. And now we have the next two phases of this. So let's go over here. So for our lines, let's go to a frame where our lines are. And let's go to color. So I've dropped down a color, I've turned this red. We're going to need this for the experiment. So I'm going to also save this just in case. And then we're going to drop down an object merge. And this object merge, you might also just recognize is bringing in our character like this. So he's bringing in our sim character. Then he's going to attribute delete, name, convert, and then turn him black. Then we are going to go to our attribute transfer, and we are going to go to attributes, point CD, conditions, distance threshold 0.08, and now we can kind of watch where our beam hits our character like that. Then we have an attribute blur, and attribute CD, blurring iteration step size, kind of like that. Then we're going to want to delete everything that's not red. So we're going to go operation delete, entity points, delete by expression, filter CD 0.02. Then we do scatter, and that's going to scatter points across our color. So our density CD and force total count. Then we're going to create a pop net. So pop net going here, we once again have some collision objects going on. So I've kind of started this, I'm going to turn this to frame 0. Oh, not, sorry. So now we have our pop net. I have substeps at 2 and start frame is 1. I'm going to dive inside and I'm going to go to our first source input. So I'm going to go to points, geometry source, use first context geometry. I'm going to go to birth, and as you can see, impulse activation 1, 1, and everything here is the same. Going to attributes, use inherited velocity, and I've scaled that up a bit. Going to pop winds, I've added some noise and forces into here. And down here for color, I've gone ramp, color, and ramped by age. So if we play this back, we should see something cool. So you can see our points start to emit. Then we go to our pop solver, nothing's changed here, pop, nothing's changed here but the physical properties. So bounce, forward, and friction are all at 0. Then I've just copy and pasted our collision objects in, so you can just go copy paste, like that. Then I've added gravity. And so you should have your sim set up to go. Then we have delete, where we delete non-selected input, operation delete non-selected, and NT points. And then you cache this out, and you should have some particles that just fall over, like that. Then we've had an attribute randomized for p-scale, so given a really low value here, and max value. And then a null to grab the simulation. Now let's head back up here to our lines. This is where the main beam effect comes in, and it can be a little bit tricky to understand, but we're going to break it down. Okay? So let's take a look at this. So let's go to our lines. Let's visualize our lines and jump into our camera. So we have our lines there. And I'm going to ghost our character so we can see where our character is at all times. And we can go to scatter all over here. So we've scattered some points across this line. And so we have them striking our character like this. And we have force total count, 577, and turn this off. Then we fed both of these into the inputs of the popnet. So popnet 1 goes into there, and popnet 2 goes into there. So let's look at our popnet. This is basically scale time by 2. Let's dive inside. And you can see 4 different inputs and our collision objects over here. So let's start with our beam. So we have this kind of alien kind of beam going. So let's take a look. At our source first input, we have scatter onto surfaces, use first context geometry, birth 1, 1, impulse count 9, and 689,000 points. And then we've also played with our life expectancy, seed, and life variance. Pop wind, we've added some noise. And for pop vop, for this I wanted to kind of create p-scale for each stream. So each stream has its own unique p-scale range. So diving inside this pop vop, we have a multiply node that, we have a multiply node that is connected to p, constant goes into there, multiply goes into p-scale, and now the p-scale works. Jumping to the surface for our pop color, we can go to color, and then we're ramping the color by age. Going to the alpha, and we're also ramping the alpha by age. Now to talk about the other streams. So how to create the other streams of particles, what you can do is go to copy and paste, and then connect them into here so you can create your own streams like that. So I'll turn this off so we can see each individual stream. So let's look at this. So now we see this stream of particles. Now we want to go to the source first input, scroll up, go to use first context geometry, birth, impulse activation, constant 1, constant birth rate, 389,000, and then played with our life expectancy. Pop winds, swirl amplitude, and pop color, ramped from life and alpha over the period of time. Then we go to pop vop, dive inside, and we're multiplying life by constant. So we're multiplying these two things together. Then we're going to multiply p-scale, and we're going like that. And that's the second stream. Whew, that's pretty cool. Kind of like Harry Potter-ish, in a way. So let's go up here to our source first input. Let's go up here. Points that we're using for emission type, source, second context geometry, and birth. 1, 8, 1, and 880,000 points, and playing with the life expectancy. Then go to pop winds, amplitude, swirl size. Pop winds, amplitude, swirl size adjustments as well. And pop drag. So we're adding some drag to these particles so they stay in the air a little bit longer. Then we have our pop vop, and diving inside once again, we're multiplying the life by this constant and going to our p-scale. Then we can go to pop color. We can ramp the color by the age, like that. We can go to alpha and ramp that over time. Now for the final stream of particles, let's play this button back. There we go. So that's the final stream of particles. So let's scroll up here. We got emission type points, geometry's first context geometry, birth, and impulse activation. So for this little formula, what I'm doing is telling Houdini to emit these particles every 3 frames. And then I've gone copy parameter and pasted it into my constant activation with a relative reference. Then I've added an impulse count of 8, constant birth rate of 689,000, and life expectancy of this. Then I've done pop wind and also lowered my air resistance. Then I've added a pop force and played with the noise. Then on our pop vop, In our pop-bop, I'm multiplying the position by the constant to create the p-scale like this. Now down here at the color, we've gone to color, ramped color by age over life, and alpha by age. And then finally we can turn these all back on again and merge them all together. Then over here I've left everything alone, gone to pop objects, and that's it. Now for collision objects, we're just copy and pasting our other geometry that we brought in earlier. So we are deleting every attribute we don't need, which is p-scale, CD, and velocity, except for p-scale, CD, and velocity. Then we have delete, so delete non-selected, and I'm choosing all of my source inputs, so if you scroll down, all of these, and points. Then I am trailing these points, and let me play this back so you can kind of see why the trail matters. So over here, if I play this back, you can see a huge amount of points, but before the trail, there's less of them. So we want to trail them a little bit. Then we're going to cache this out, so we get this, like that. And then we've added a null, which is great. Now for the last step of this, we're going to create some interaction color on the character, like this. So we're going to go into interaction details. So scrolling upwards, we have two object merges, so these. I'm going to go in my camera viewport. So we have our particles, like this, that we're bringing in into this object out magic, so right there. Then over here, we have into this object out second particles, so those interaction particles that we created earlier. Then merge, we've merged these together. Then color. I've decided to override their color attributes and make them purple. And then attribute, delete anything I don't need. Over here we have another object merge, and we are bringing in our sim again. So we're bringing in the sim, and then we're coloring him white, and deleting any attributes we don't need, and attribute transferring the color. So we have attribute CD, distance threshold that, and so when we play this back, we can kind of see purple form on the character, like this. And then we're going to blur that, like this, and use a group expression to get the inner details of the color. So we're going to go CD group, points, and CD values under this. Then we go to color, choose a group CD, and now we have some darker impact areas. We can go to attribute blur, like this, and then we can go delete CD. Then we go group expression, so group, points, CD, and we can color the inner part with group and delete, make those really, really dark. So those are going to add some more depth to our character when it comes to rendering and impact effects. Then we're going to make sure all these colors are blurred together so they kind of form seamlessly into each other like a gradient. And then group delete, so delete any groups you don't need. And now we have our object merge, so what we're doing is merging in some particles that we created earlier. So in part one, we created these particles down here for when our character kind of gets destroyed, like those. So you're going to grab those. Then you can go to color, like this, and delete anything you don't need. So then we're going to go to CD, and we're going to go to color, conditions, and you can see over time, I don't want this color to stick around too much, so I've decided to animate the distance threshold from 0.026 to 0, so it will disappear over time. Then I've blurred these, I have blurred these colors together so they look like this, and I've added a null. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope this gave you some better insight for making large-scale character effects, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!